Welcome back to News Talk here on News Channel 8 and our conversation this time with D.C. Council Chairman Phil Mendelson. It's our monthly one-on-one with him, and I want to open up the phone line so that you can join the conversation. If you have questions for the chairman, comments, suggestions, what have you, I would love to have you join the conversation. We've already posted the number to the bottom of the screen to make it easy for you. We can take calls in the 11 a.m. hour. If that's when you're watching, do go to the phone now and let us know what your question is. We'll go to the phones as your calls come in at 703-387-1020. I want to go over some of the ground that we've already touched on, but in more detail on the city's homelessness policy and the preparation for winter and the understandable and broadly shared desire to make sure that all families that have housing insecurity have a roof and can get out of the cold when winter comes. This issue of the bathrooms, is it a question of if we're not guaranteeing every family its own bathroom, then you can house more families, and if you do give everyone their own bathroom, it's that those families who get shelter get higher quality shelter? Is that the trade-off?
Sort of. The administration argued, that's Mayor Bowser and the Department of Human Services argued strenuously that it would delay matters if we required that every room in the replacement shelters had its own private bath. Now, that's not to say that there won't be adequate bathroom facilities. There will be multi-fixture bathrooms on each floor. There will be two what are called family bathrooms. They're private bathrooms, but they're not associated with a particular unit. It would be a bathroom with a locked door, sink, a bathtub, so that mother could bathe her son, infant son. And then there'll be at least 10% of the rooms will have private baths. So there will be bathrooms. It's just that the debate, there was a lot of attention on this, was that whether there should be a bathroom for each room. And ultimately the council agreed with the mayor. I agreed with the mayor on this. To my way of thinking, where we need to be putting the most focus and energy is on services to help these homeless families get back on their feet and on getting them out of the system. And there hasn't been enough attention to that in the past. So when hypothermia season comes, which is right about now, we get this huge influx of families, homeless families, because they might be able to take care of themselves. Maybe they're sleeping on the street or in their car. I'm not saying it's a great situation, but when it gets freezing, they've got shelter. They've got to come in for shelter, and so we get this huge influx, and then we don't get them out of the system. So that it's kind of like a bottleneck, if you will. And what Laura Zeilinger, who's the Director of Human Services, is committed to doing is to improve the speed at which these folks get placed in some other sort of housing. The council over the years has increased enormously, above and beyond what the mayor, this mayor or the previous mayor, requested in the budget. Increased resources for final placements of these families, whether it's what's called permanent supportive housing, which is affordable housing with services wrapped around it, or whether it's something like rapid rehousing, which is short-term while these families get jobs and get back on their feet financially. There are a number of different strategies. So we've put the resources there, but the government has not been good in getting these families to those resources, and that's
Are you expecting a better set of outcomes this winter?
I'm expecting a better set of outcomes, but I don't know how quickly it will happen. That is to say that I think we're going to still see that we're overpopulated in terms of homeless families, meaning that we're still going to be relying on motels. We won't be able to shut down D.C. General. That's what I'm expecting. It would be wonderful if we saw the population drop. As of a few weeks ago, there were something like over 700 families in the shelter system. And the shelter system really should be maybe around 800. So, I know we're going to be using motels almost from the start, but it would be great if we could get that population down by the end of the cold weather.
Let's go back to Metro. We'll go to the phones in a moment. By the way, I don't know Ron's question, but we'll go to the phones in a moment and talk with Ron in Southeast. When Neil Cohen's name surfaced to be the new general manager of Metro, some people thought the consensus view was great with budgets, and Metro has budget challenges now, so that piece of it feels like a good fit. Coming from outside the transit world, though, I think raised questions about whether he was a home run, because he's coming from aerospace. Of course, he's not coming now, but the notion that an aerospace guy would come into the Washington region to run our metro system, not to say he couldn't do it, but it raised probably more questions than if it was classic transit dude from San Francisco coming to a very similar post to the one he or she may have had for a lifetime.
Well, you know, we don't have a great track record in terms of how WMATA has evolved over the last 50 years by just having transit dudes come to the system. They may have been running the trains, but we're seeing increasing issues with reliability, and the finances are a mess. I'm of the view that the most important thing is to turn around WMATA as an organization, as a company, as a business. And that means getting the financial house in order, changing the mindset in the within the building with the employees. You know, I'll give you an example.
Sure.
And this isn't just within WMATA. This is all the jurisdictions. I'm active at the Council of Governments. I represent the district there. A month ago, we had at the Board of Directors meeting a presentation. It was very, very brief about the new Metro Safety Committee. This is supposed to take the place of the Tri-State Operations Committee. Tri-State has been toothless. It's been generally criticized for years. It's going to be replaced with a new safety committee. The 3 states have to agree on all the details because it's going to have its own compact, that is legal documents standing it up. So we're going to have that in place. This is the Metro Safety Committee by 2019. Well, I mean, what's your reaction?
So we're going to limp
that?
along with the Tri-State Oversight Committee till then?
Well, that's my reaction. And I said at the last Board of Directors meeting, this is again at Council of Governments, this is ridiculous. This needs to happen now. Well, why? And it's sort of like, this is...
I'm amazed that someone could say that out loud.
We see this over and over, this kind of too much of this business as usual, or this is how we get things done, and it's going to take this long. Things need to change now. My point being that I think, and I agree with Mayor Bowser on this, that we need a turnaround agent at WMATA. So if somebody who's coming in, it doesn't have deep transit experience, is not the transit dude as you put it, I think that's okay as long as it's somebody who knows how to run a big organization and get it back on its feet.
To the phones, line 1 first. Hello, Ron. You're on the air. Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Bruce. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My question is, Mr. Chairman, I saw you spoke earlier this week, and you mentioned that you indicated to the mayor that her zoning board nominee was not going to be approved. Can you give us some clarity on that situation? Because it seems like there's some disingenuous intentions coming from the executive about when it was notified that, or the nominee was notified that he was not going to be nominated.
Thank you.
Sure. This is a new issue for this hour. The mayor sent down a nomination, David Franco, to be on the Zoning Commission. The Zoning Commission, unlike in Maryland or Virginia, the Zoning Commission is independent of the legislature, and the Zoning Commission has exclusive jurisdiction over zoning and land use decisions. Council does not play a role in that, although the nominations have to be confirmed by the council. I told the mayor a couple of months ago that having an active developer on the Zoning Commission was a mistake and that I would not be supportive of that. And I said to her a couple of months ago that she needs to send down a different nominee. She's dug in her heels. She's become very stubborn about this. Certainly she's entitled to do that, but I believe very strongly that having an active developer had a planned unit development case before the Zoning Commission, it was either this year or began late last year, that's just the wrong move. For one thing, citizens get very caught up in land use issues. It's a quality of life issue for them. And they want, and I think they have a right to expect, that the Zoning Commission is going to be unbiased on these issues. But I just also know from over the years that we need folks who are not active before the Zoning Commission to sit on the Zoning Commission. And I think having... So
they have to have... It's a thread-the-needle situation, and we see it all the time, where to be credible and to serve on the panel, whatever it is, they have to have knowledge, but they can't have skin in the game, or the public perception and maybe the reality suffer.
Correct, exactly. So this controversy has been perpetuated. The nomination was deemed disapproved because there's a time limit on it. It was deemed disapproved. I think it was over the weekend, and I was really quite surprised that the mayor resubmitted the name.
The mayor has been criticized for establishing a political action committee that seeks to raise money from corporate interests, folks who have business before the city now or who don't have business before the city but would like to, and maybe see the PAC as a way of currying favor. This presumably so she can be a player, a significant player in the 2016 elections. That's what's presumed. Do you have any thoughts on this? Is the criticism on point, so to speak?
Well, certainly there's been a very, I'd say, broad, widespread negative reaction to it. Legislation was introduced in the council that I co-sponsored. I believe it was introduced or co-introduced or co-sponsored by a majority of the members that would seek to close this loophole that allows these large $10,000, $20,000 contributions. We'll see how it plays out.
Do you have general concern, specific concern?
Well, I've tried to not get in, people love to try to see if they can get me in the middle of a controversy. And as you know, I avoid controversies all the time. So I've been trying to pretty much just say what I've said.
All right. To be continued. The good thing is we get a crack at Phil Mendelson every month here on News Talk. Yes. He's with us on the first Thursday of the month. We'll take a run at this one and other issues as well.
Excellent.
The first Thursday of December. Thanks very much for your time. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for being with us today. An update on the hour's top stories, the end of the week forecast. It's all coming next. Also, a safety warning for pet owners.